Now, maybe you guys are already aware of what's going on with Solo Leveling Season 3. There was like a whole ass Reddit thread and interviews and AMAs, but you know what? I didn't really want to read a bunch of threads with the, Crunchyroll officials, saying shit. I mean, I did that for Debate interview, but this time, let's just see what Chibi has to say about it. Give it to me, Chibi.
I'm going to have you guys watch this to get the context to what I'm going to be talking about in this video, but this is an official panel that Crunchyroll led, talking with the producers of Solo Leveling Season 1 and Season 2.
Chills!
Pictures, you get the point. Basically, they talk about the future of Solo Leveling.
Bald? That's crazy how his glasses just sit on top of his head like that.
When to expect it, and just how much effort that has been poured into it. And also, on a little side note, I'm going to be talking about the overall success, or the massive success, of Solo Leveling in terms of sales in Japan.
I have no idea what this really means though, right? Like, one sold 1,500 copies in Japan without like a different like sales, analytics to compare with. Who knows what the hell that is, but it's 7th on the week's bestseller list, right? Top 10. 7th, let's go.
Solo Leveling in terms of sales in Japan. But let's start off with this first.
Less than Windbreaker? What the fuck? Really goes to show that sales has nothing to really do with, I guess, global success, because I don't think Windbreaker is even close to Solo Leveling's, engagement, but the sales are domestically doing that good, so I guess there's a way more focused audience that enjoys Windbreaker that's, fucking with it a lot heavier than Solo Leveling. Interesting.
First, let's listen to this, and then we'll dive right into it.
事実としてシーズン1からシーズン2、アニメーターの人たちは実は22
It'll be
万枚
translated, don't
の
worry.
作画を
Okay, I was like, if there's no translation, what the fuck are you making me listen
こ
to?
なしています。But in truth, between season 1 and season 2, 22万枚, 220,000 frames of animation were created. それを全部手で描いているので、ちょっと次のオリンピックぐらいまで。
So, to clarify what he means by that, he's talking about there was 220,000 animation frames created for Season 1 and Season 2 of Solo.
Amazing, huh?
The average episode of an anime, at least from what I can Google and find out, is 3,000 to 4,000. For those that are animators and can clarify this number, please do so in the comments below. But through a quick Google search, it basically states that an average episode can range to up to 4,000. Obviously, it can vary and get significantly more depending on the project, but this is apparently the typical. So we gotta factor in like a 20 episode series, 220,000 animation frames. That's a lot. That's way over 10,000 frames pretty much per episode. Way more double than the average anime episode if we're led to believe this is actually accurate. So that is pretty ridiculous. We got some insight into just how much effort has been poured into every single anime episode for Solo Leveling. But obviously there's a lot more information to take away from this, so let's continue playing it.
I don't think frames is honestly the end-all be-all metric to determine, like, is there a lot of effort put into it, right? Like, there is this common idea that, like, more frames, the better. But remember during, production value analysis and understanding what 2s and 3s are, right? Sometimes, like, having less frames, right? To create, like, a different type of tempo and the intention behind utilizing these techniques, that's what makes actually good anime. But I think on average, right, these kind of metrics being way more higher is still a better sign overall. And we've seen in Solo Leveling how much, things are moving, let's say compared to anime such as Blue Lock, TNG Lock, Debates, Tower of God Season 2. So it's always a good thing to have.
How much effort has been poured into every single anime episode for Solo Leveling. But obviously there's a lot more information to take away from this, so let's continue playing it.
住んでほしいんですけど、22万1枚目を書いてくれるかどうかはあと金子さん次第。
Ah,
And of course, I would love to give the animators a little breathing room. So if it were up to me, I would say let's wait until the next Olympics to see what's going to happen to
Next Olympics? Wait a minute, when is that actually? I got no clue. Next Olympics date. 2028. Ooh. Did we just have Olympics in 2024? I genuinely don't even know. There's like the Summer and Winter Olympics, right? Anyways, okay. I mean, I think at this point, it is pretty much known that Solo Leveling is not going to come back very fast, right? It's going to have quite a bit of time to prepare for Season 3.
season 3. But
So that right there officially confirms it. Producers and stuff that work with Crunchyroll and Solo Leveling, A1 Pictures, etc., they have pretty much given us a release time frame. we are probably not going to see in Soul Leveling until the next Olympics. And if you don't know when the next Olympics are, it's in 2028.
All right, you lazy fucks, go work on Strange Fake instead. Anybody remember Fate? Strange Fake? Anybody? Pretty big project. We got to see episode, 1 earlier this year, and they said, oh, hey, don't worry. Episode 2, right? Episode 2 release date? Apparently it was gonna be spring. It's fucking crazy. First episode aired this, and the craziest thing is that episode 0 aired way before this as well, right? There's episode 0, the 1 hour long one. This shit was in July 2023. What? What is the schedule? A1 Pictures, what are you doing? I don't understand what the fuck you're doing with this. Are you gonna take time now to work on that instead?
So that means that we're going to have to wait through 2025, 2026, 2027, and then 2028.
And you know what? I'll wait. And so will you. A lot of people are like, oh, I can't wait. Guess what? Time is going to pass no matter what you do. And I would much prefer a situation where they take their time to properly work on it, to have proper pacing, proper scheduling, and to have the talent shine through rather than it being a rushed botch project, right? So if it's going to take 2028 to get us quality peak animation, I would wait. I'm more than down for it. That's like the same issue with the ReZero season quote unquote 4, right? The whole Arc 6 debacle of how it was supposed to be included in season 3, but they did a rebrand because of scheduling conflicts or lack of time of, right? So it is what it is, man. And I think that patience is a virtue that a lot of people don't practice or exercise enough, but it's a very underrated one.
All we know, anything can happen from now and then to where it might come out earlier, or it could even be delayed, depending on just what happens to, the anime industry, so to speak. So, pretty much what is being confirmed here is that Season 1 and Season 2 was a massive undertaking. There was a lot of animation frames that was poured into it, like so much work being done for it, that it is a massive hurdle, a mountain that they're going to have to tackle again for Season 3. And what I covered yesterday with a brief video, there was a revelation, a reveal, that just a single episode of Soul Leveling takes about 10 to 12 months to create, which is insane information that we got. But
10 to 12 months for one episode to create. So are you telling me that an entire season took 10 to 12 years to make? Does that make any sense to you? Has Soul Leveling been even out for that long? Well, now you're assuming that anything being worked on this kind of structure is in a linear way where you can't multitask or have, separate threads parallel, working, right? So I don't think it's like, oh, one episode, 10 to 12 years. Sorry, 10 to 12 months, all right? Finally, we kind of work on the second episode. I don't think it works like that, right? I'm sure there's a lot of different, teams and staff and scheduling such that it's not gonna take over a fucking decade to work on a fucking anime season.
when you factor in just how many frames a typical of an episode of Solo Leveling potentially has in comparison to an average episode, and then you factor in just how much work was put out for all the seasons, and then how many employees they have, makes a lot of sense why Solo Leveling would be a massive undertaking and why it would take just a long time to be able to animate it. So
amateurs, bro. Imagine putting this much effort in. Just do what Tibate's doing, man. You think Studio ACAT takes that long? Look what Blue Lock did with 8-Bit Studios, bro. Amateurs. Noobs.
So when you factor in what I talked about yesterday and how I said that most likely when Solo Leveling was in production, when they were planning the episode phases on how many episodes they were wanting to have, Season 1 and Season 2 most likely were already guaranteed. They were already dead set and greenlit Season 1 and Season 2 before they even saw the success or popularity of Solo Leveling. They were already going to do that many episodes. That, I think, was the original intention. But obviously with
I could see that, right? We got back-to-back, right? They had a literal release date for Season 2 as soon as Season 1 ended, so their intention was, you know what? Jeju Ant Raid arc is probably the climax of the overall story. A lot of people say this is where the story kind of peaks and the next stuff, it gets very convoluted as the power scaling gets, out of place, and a lot of people have a lot of distaste for what happens afterwards. I don't know. These are random comments and opinions that I hear from people online talking about solo leveling, but maybe they thought when storyboarding, all right, Jeju Island, let's get there first, right? It's gonna be a big project. Let's have season 1 and season 2 already be greenlit so that we can cover the, big chunk of this. And then, depending on how well it does, right? Let's see what happens in season 3 and onwards.
The overall success, obviously there is a high demand for it, which could make the overall release of Solo Leveling a lot sooner than it's potentially going to be in 2028. But the point of the matter is that they booked probably a lot of anime in turn after Solo Leveling, and they're so booked up with a bunch of different projects that
Strange Fake, what's happening, bro? What the hell is happening with that anime?
they can't possibly pump out Solo Leveling in a good amount of time. And
We also have Machine, losing heroines, right? Season 2 coming back. I know it's A1 Pictures. I know that there's different studios and different teams in A1 Pictures, so it's not like, oh, this is the reason why it's getting taken away, but yeah, they probably got a lot of different shit happening.
until maybe 2027 or 2028, which is why we have a
Actually, what's going on with A1 Pictures? What are they up to? Oh, Jesus, I can't type. A1 Pictures. Right? We can look at my anime list. So sorting by newest, what do they got going on? Sure, bro. You're really working on this? Sure, bro. Wait. Any charts? Macane. Let's just do this. This will be an easier way to go to it. I just want to go to this one and let's click onto A1 Pictures. And if we look at what they are working on in 2025, right? Aldnoah Zero Re. It's a movie. There's an OVA, Licorice Recall. It's like 6 episodes shorts, right? There is also a movie happening. Right? These are all the different stuff. What is... Oh, Solo Leveling had a movie? It's like a recap for season 1 stuff, right? This is the rom-com I'm talking about, Machine. Face Strange Fake, you're not actually working on it. Don't fucking lie to me. And for 2026, there's a movie and a bunch of unreleased projects. This is the Machine season 2 confirmation that I'm talking about, but this is kind of what's in their plate right now. All this stuff. Movies and specials and one season 2 lined up.
a comment like this within this video, which is pretty sad to hear that we're going to have to wait a very long time. Like, we now have an actual window release date, but it makes a lot of sense when you factor in that A1 Pictures, Aniplex, Crunchyroll, and all these different people behind the scenes, they have so many projects that they're working on, and there's just so many hands on deck with different things going on, that there's just no way that they could solely only focus on Solo Leveling. It's not possible. It's not feasible. And so to craft or cook something that is to the same level as Solo Leveling Season 1 and Season 2 was, it's gonna take some time. So because of that, I feel like this accurate assessment of waiting until 2028 is most likely very accurate.
Could be even longer, right? He's kind of joking about the Olympics date, but like, it's not a given.
Give or take a year or two detracted from it or added to it. I feel like that's more or less what we could assume. So I doubt we're going to probably see Solo Leveling Season 3 in 2026 or 2025, obviously. And it's a very big maybe in 2027. Obviously, it does come down to the success. Like, for instance, if Solo Leveling really is just so overwhelming in terms of money making, companies are not going to overlook that. They're going to definitely want to produce it once again.
Yeah, but why is the sales as low as Windbreaker then? Lower than? Like, I hear so many good things about Solo Leveling, Crunchyroll ratings, global success, but is it doing well in domestic Japan? Isn't that one of the most important things, right? How well an anime does in Japan is like one of the most key indicators of if it's gonna continue, right?
Faster and faster to get as much money as possible. But at the same time, we gotta remember this is the same industry that delayed Attack on Titan for a very long time. And Attack on Titan turned out really good. It did. Regardless of people's personal preferences to the ending, if you hated it or not, you know, Attack on Titan's anime did very well, very popular, still talked about to this.
Final season, final part 1. Final season, final movie, final part 1 out of final part. Jesus Christ.
Day. So maybe making everybody wait is a good thing if it's going to be a very solid product. That's my personal takeaway. But yeah, we at least got confirmation now when to expect Season 3, how hard it was to make Season 1 and Season 2, and that it's very clear that they want to give the animators a break. They want the animators to be able to see their kids. They want their animators to be able to go home to their families and be able to spend the holidays with them. That's basically what's being said here.
Not my studio, bro. Studio Mappa would never. Studio Mappa would work these fucking slaves to the bone to the point they're crying on Twitter, but still deliver results like JJK Season 2, bro.
Now, with this being talked about, we need to talk about the success of Solo Leveling's overall sales in Japan. Now, this
Okay.
is domestically, from my understanding, just in Japan, as you can see here. So this is not counting, for instance, worldwide releases or
Sure.
anything like that. This is not counting streaming, merchandise sales in terms of maybe figures or anything else. This
Just
is
domestic
strictly
sales.
just BD sales and DVD sales for
Got it.
Volume 1, which, for those that are unaware, when it comes to anime releases in Japan, they split the episodes into different volumes. For instance, like they'll have maybe 2 to 3 episodes on a disc, and then they'll release a volume 2, which will have episodes 4 and 6 on the next disc, and they sell them individually. And
That is so predatory. So instead of having one DVD Blu-ray that encompasses Season 1, Season 2, they're like, no. We gotta... And here's the really fucked up part, right? So already you are dividing up the episodes to sell these things, but I bet that there are specific, like, what's the word, partitions of the season, such that, like, you know, so not every episode back to back is going to be exciting. There's going to be slower episodes, right? And in order to maximize sales, you wouldn't necessarily want to group up all the slower episodes into one DVD, right? So they probably carefully look at the engagement and the analytics based on, you know, how hyped some episodes were and how slow some episodes were, and try to mix and match such that overall you feel an incentive to buy every volume rather than, you know, buying specific ones that's just about the hype shit, right?
regardless if you think that's overpriced or, you know, money scamming or whatever, you know, title you want to attach to it, that's how it's always been in Japan. But basically, the first volume of Season 2 of Solo Leveling sold very well, where it sold 1,500
Okay.
copies. Now, this might seem relatively low, especially
Yeah.
when you look at massive numbers like, you know, multi-million-dollar sales for games, etc. But this is pretty high, especially for BD DVDs just in the world in general
Okay.
nowadays, but also just when it comes to Blu-ray DVDs for anime and stuff, because typically they range from the 1,000 mark, 900 mark, maybe the upper thousands, and this is basically where Solo Leveling is going. As it's been stated with the ranking, apparently it ranked in the 7th on the week's bestseller list, so it's not in the top 5, but it's in the top 10, which basically lets us know that Solo Leveling is doing relatively well in Japan, which
Cool.
is a big shocker. It's actually good news, because
Because, you know, anti-Japan propaganda in the source material, right? Japan being the bad people, they had to literally have a different version to have a separate country name for Japan, right? I mean, who'd want to like that? Imagine if your, you know, nationality, your heritage is being dunked on for the sake of content and aura farming, right? I'd be pissed off.
for those that are unaware, Solo Leveling is popular in the West. Like, I think everybody knows this. It's extremely popular, but it was always going to be potentially a hard sell in Japan because of the content within Solo Leveling. For those that have read the novel or webcomic, there's a lot of anti-Japan stuff within
Yeah.
it. And basically, it's very clear that it might not sit right with Japanese citizens.
You
in
have to change
Japan,
it.
and you know, just the way it comes from Korea as well, since it's a Korean webcomic. There's a lot of variables to it, so there was always a possibility that it might not do domestically well in Japan. But it's very clear, at the very least, there is interest. It's doing very well. It's selling pretty good in the top 10. So it's very clear, or at least indication right now for Season 2, it's a massive success. It is a very good success for Solo Leveling, which I think is indication enough that Season 3 is 100% coming. That's a no-brainer, obviously. Just
Duh.
the question is when, which goes back into what I talked about. at the beginning of the
2028
video.
maybe.
It's probably coming out in 2028 or 2027 at the earliest. So yeah, I wanted to bring this up because there was more information that came out about Solo Leveling today. Obviously, the video from yesterday kind of overlaps with this video, but we didn't have full confirmation of a 2028 release window, but now we kind of do with the words from the producer's own mouth in this video. Once again, this is an official Crunchyroll panel. You can literally see it here. This is official. This is not like inaccurate. This is not, you know, misinformation. It's completely legit.
You're telling me Chibi was able to farm out a 9-minute video in a topic that he already covered in a previous video, where all the newest information is the Olympic reference to sign that it's going to come out in 2028, huh? It is actually impressive. The level of yapping without any meat. You know, like basically this video could have been Soul Leveling may be coming out in 2028. There is a lot of increased sales in Blu-ray DVD in Japan. There are some additional information about the frames, you know, included in per episode, and you guys can look forward to it. Bye. But like, you know, this is the content creation, bro. We gotta start yapping and get the ad revenue, and I'm not hating on him for it. Absolutely not. It's just, it is masterful how he is able to say so much without saying anything, which is honestly a skill that I too really try to strive for as a yapologist, a commentator, a reactor. It is truly one of my strongest strengths, right? To be able to make something out of nothing. Anyways, please check out Chibi's video. Check out his channel for some other content. Here's a link to the video. Go give it a like if you learned something new. I'll see you next time.